Hey there, everyone. So I made Caseoh in the night of the Waffle House. You can see I'm in it right now. Um, this is the starting house that you start in. I'm going to be going over some behind the scenes, some issues I ran into, some bugs that still exist in the game, and some secrets. So yeah, if you're interested in that, keep watching. If you're not, if you're just here to see that I did make the game, I did. It's all here. And then there's also another scene. We can talk about that later. But yeah. So the first thing I'm going to talk about before we get into any of the issues are just some of the more behind the scenes or kind of just random stuff that you can't really see in the minigame. Okay. The first thing is right here. You can see that there's a light down here. If you're wondering what that's from, there's a Dahlia under the map, and she's there because the end cutscene for the first act, by the way, it's divided into acts. You actually don't know that, because you didn't make the game, but the first act is everything before you get abducted, and the second act is everything afterwards. So the Waffle House, the chase scene here, down the back of the path, your apartment, all of that, this is all part of the first act, and then the diner with Dolores, Caseoh's bunker, the forest, that kind of stuff, all of that is in Act 2. So at the end of Act 1, there's a cutscene, and you go on the bed, and you close your eyes and you sleep. By the way, that's what these things are. The camera, that's for the cutscenes. It's actually not this one. This one's for the very start cutscene when you just wake up and you see your clock. But the actual camera that's used for the real cutscenes is very similar to this one, in that it does have eyelids. For some reason, I couldn't figure out how to disable and enable objects. I know how to do that now. And it's used pretty much every time after this point, except for, I think there's one example of me not doing this, which we'll see in a bit, but we can leave that for later. But yeah, so you don't see her under here, because she's just hanging out under there. Also, by the way, yeah, this is what the game looks like without any of the post-processing or the fog, with no lighting. The skybox is actually just a bunch of round little stars. Most of the textures are very low resolution images. You can see that here, all around. Yeah. Alright, next thing we're going to talk about are these cat posters. So you might have noticed while Caseoh was playing, there are these posters with cats all around. I'll show you a couple of the examples in Act 1 here. Here's the second one. The first one was in the room that you already saw, and this is the second one. He actually pointed this one out. It's the pause sign. This is actually the last one I made, but it should be the second one you encounter after you exit your room. So this is the third one. Yep, pretty cool cat. Alright. The fourth and final one for the first act is out here by the shack. Now, he did look at this one with the flashlight. It's pretty dark with all the post-processing and fog and everything, but it is still visible, you know? So, there are only 4 in the first act out of 7 total. There's 3 in the second act. We'll take a look at those. You can actually see here, this is the first one. He actually saw this one when he was coming back. He said, "Kitty, very cool." Yeah, we all know. Says, "You're perfect." Beautiful. Yeah. This is the 6th one. Pretty obvious what it is. Yeah. It's out in the food shack, if you're wondering. We'll actually talk about this later, why it was so hard to find. And this is the final one. It's out in his bunker in the living room space. Yeah. Nice Christmas reference one. But yeah, if you're wondering what happens when you collect all of these, I'm not going to tell you that. You have to go do it on your own. So have fun. Alright, back in Act 1, something you might have noticed already, these buildings are not actually three-dimensional. They're only two-dimensional. They only have one side. The other side is just empty, but you'll never see that because, well, you can't go around here. There's some barriers. Yeah. Same thing with these ones here. If you're wondering, yeah, this is the door to the apartment. The apartment's actually way over here. You might have seen this earlier as well. It's a similar thing with the shack out in the woods with Caseoh. That's the outside one. The inside is actually quite a bit bigger. Also, in the video, there's a point near the start where he says that he thinks he hears someone eating. That's actually this right here. It just plays the sound on repeat of me like chomping down on something that's a bit distorted to make it kind of sound like Caseoh. But yeah, I forgot to. Well, I didn't forget. I just didn't set it so that it only turned on when you entered the shack, and instead it's just always running. And I didn't quite tweak it right, so you can actually. The editor says that that you can only hear it from this radius, but in reality you can hear it from like everywhere on the map. Some other things you might have noticed are that the trees are not actually as thick as they look. There's only really 3 layers on each side. Alright, Act 2. So, similar to the first act, the outside of here actually isn't the real outside. In reality, that's just over here. You actually might have noticed this while he was playing, but the windows here have an image on them, while the windows here are transparent. That's just because, like, I don't know, just like personal preference. It's just kind of how I want it to look. Don't worry about the lights kind of being weird. That only happens when you're just viewing it. Same thing with this kind of glitch down here. Alleyman here. So, something that funny that I noticed while he was playing was actually that he thought this was Joe Bartolozzi, I think. It's not. It's just like a random face. But also, this is actually the same guy that was at the restaurant. Kind of like not lore wise, he's a different guy in the story, but it's the same model. So he did point that out, and that's a good thing. Also, the thing we were talking about earlier with the walls only being one-dimensional, same thing here. There's also only 3 sides. Yeah, the mug store over here. The mug store is actually in here. Doesn't lead somewhere else, and yeah, you have all the mugs. Definitely. Yeah. He might not have noticed this, but actually, all the ones up here are just textures from other places. For example, this is the brick texture from the Waffle House. This is the floor tile from inside the diner, and this is actually the blood material. Yeah, so that's interesting. Alright, so this little building out here, it doesn't really seem like a lot, but if you go into it, what you'll notice is that it's actually the streaming room. There isn't a chair or a desk, or really anything in here. It's just this, and you don't see everything around it. Also, especially you don't see this back wall. It's only the Pro Builder general like material. Like if I go here and I make a new thing, it just looks this. It's just this material. Yeah. All right. So here's the tunnel you walk through when you're first entering the bunker, alright? So back earlier when I was discussing about how there was one more thing that was kind of like Dahlia in a room where she spawns before she needs to in the cutscene, that's actually the jump scare here. He's here waiting for you. As soon as the cutscene's over, this object gets deleted, but yeah, if you somehow manage to get around the trigger, he'd just be standing here, because he's just here from the start. And also, same thing with the other one out here that triggers when you do the cutscene here. One issue I was worried about that I don't know if it actually was something I should have been worried about was that the voice lines that were said during this cutscene where he jumps out and he punches you, I was scared that people wouldn't be able to actually understand who he's saying. If you couldn't hear what he was saying, it was, "You must have forgotten about my gravitational pull." Take from that what you will. This is where you spawn. That is the food shack. That is the bunker. You spawn facing this direction, right towards the food shack. In all of my testing, everyone just went straight forward, saw the food shack first, the sign in front of the food shack as well, which led to the bunker. Because of that, they already knew where the food shack was and could simply return to it. Caseoh, however, did not follow that. He immediately went to the bunker, which is something I've never seen before, and then went back and tried to find the food shack afterwards, which is pretty hard considering there's no tracker or anything, because it's assumed they've already found it. That let him running in circles for a little while, but the forest is actually not that big, so he was mostly in this contained area for the entire time. The little opening here is also where the 1x1 Lego block monster spawns, which I'll show you now. So this is the 1x1 block Lego monster. You probably saw it. He does make noise while he's chasing you. If you attack him and he gets stunned, he also makes noise. You can only hit his eye to stun him, all that. You already probably know this if you watched it. He's pretty creepy, I think. Take a look at those long fingers, long arms. Yeah, that beady eye, it darts everywhere. In fact, there are some scrapped animations which I'll show you now. So this animation isn't actually scrapped, it's just idle animation. You see this in the cutscene where you first meet him. The second animation I'm going to show you is his running animation. This is the running animation. He drags himself along the floor with his arms. He digs into the floor with his claws, and then he just drags himself. Pretty simple, you saw it in game. This is what happens when you stun him. He grabs his eye, makes a fist, and slams it into the floor in rage. He does this for about 2 seconds or so before continuing to chase you again. Here's the scrapped animation I was talking about before. Yeah, I don't think I have to explain that one. Alright, this has been Monkey042 or HockeyNick42, depending on what account I'm using. My Discord or my YouTube or whatever. And this has been a lot of fun. If you want me to make another video where I discuss some of the more important features or some of the more specifics of the game, feel free to comment below. Yes, that is actually me in the comment section. Yes, I made this game. And yes, I will be making a sequel. I'm thinking of uploading about that sequel on this channel, but first I'm actually probably going to take a bit of a detour and do my own thing first. So if you want to see that, stay tuned. I'm sure I'm going to be uploading devlogs for it on here. Thank you all for watching. Have a great night or day or whatever, and I'll see you in the next one. Alright, later.